What's going on, Philadelphia? Can you imagine the type of pettiness that I am going to have once Jalen Hurts performs at an MVP level yet again this season? Do you know how many people tried to tell you and me that that guy is not special after last season, that there's so much growth that he's got to learn? And this is just what I want you to think about heading into the season. Better, worse, or the same? And we have plenty of categories for this throughout August as we get ready for the Ravens preseason game. Do you believe Jalen Hurts is going to be better, worse, or the same? And my answer is emphatically way, way better, and I don't think it has much to do with some talent leap or that he's hit his prime when he's at 26, which you're going to hear a lot of. And you want to know why you're going to hear a lot of that? Because last year, when you and I were chatting about this, I predicted that the media was absolutely going to crush Jalen Hurts. You've lost both coordinators, and Howie still, to me, secretly wanted Vic Fangio, and that deterred the entire season. Both sides of the football will be amazingly better, and we'll get to the defense at some other episode, but Jalen Hurts specifically is only going to improve because there's a real NFL offense moving through the Philadelphia Eagles NovaCare camp right now with extremely talented players. You know, and I know we're just going off of practice tweets, feeling good. It's preseason. Everyone is going to be in the best shape of their life. Everyone's going to be making acrobatic touchdowns. But what we're really seeing out there is an actual system with dump-offs, checkdowns, 1, 2, 3 read. I'm seeing all of these things saying, wow, Jalen's getting the ball out a lot quicker because the offense is telling him to do so. Nick Sirianni's offense last year was hold on to the ball, don't throw slants to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. Hold on to the ball. If it's not there, run for your life, go make a play. That's what everything has felt like from last year to the beginning of learning who Nick Sirianni was, and now even though I still have my raging doubts about how good Kellen Moore is, he is way better than anything that was here from a chemistry vibe last year. And I don't know how much you want to read into like the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni thing. I went into that this offseason, this July a little bit on what that relationship actually means. And it doesn't really matter. I just want to reemphasize that. Kellen Moore's relationship with Jalen Hurts is way more important than Nick Sirianni's and Jalen Hurts. And you have heard that all offseason here too, in that, if their relationship isn't good, then it's going to be bad. No, we have got to understand what just happened. Nick is the figurehead of the Philadelphia Eagles. He probably is still very well liked by the majority of players, despite what the media and everybody else says. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be having, pretty comfortable conversations with Howie Roseman. Also, he has no power. Those are the two things we established all over this. So, to me, Jalen Hurts' improvement is simply psychological. It's the fact that he can get rid of the ball. It's that we are seeing pistol bootlegs already in training camp. It's that there's this, how much money did they pay Saquon Barkley? I don't know, $27 million running back plus. That's going to be very, very hard when you're doing motion, when you've got A.J. Brown in the slot now, when there's 3 and 5 and 7 step drops in an actual West Coast type of system that's rolling out here. And I don't think that just helps Jalen Hurts. I do believe because of Cam coming in and you've got a lot of new linemen, and you're losing Jason Kelce. I don't know if you've heard that before this offseason. Strictly from all of those standpoints, a schematic overview, that's why I believe Jalen Hurts is going to have like an MVP season, And I don't know who really is the recipient of that. I don't expect any different numbers from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I do expect more touchdowns from Dallas Goedert, however. And that's not just because out of hope and, praying and all this other stuff. I'm just saying if Saquon goes right, and every defense imaginable is going to either try to take out one of those wide receivers, I do think that this setup actually does benefit Dallas from Kellen Moore's head standpoint. I do remember, at least in Dallas, a lot of tight ends in motion, a lot of people kind of manipulating that space, however you want to do that, and tight ends were safety outlets, I think, a lot of the time, and touchdown catchers in the red zone, like killer over and over, set up to do so, more or less. Now, I know that could change because there's so many people you can throw to in the red zone, and we got some new names like Johnny Wilson that are making names for themselves. But all these different components combined actually I think steers towards the skill set that we've largely ignored from Jalen Hurts. I think everything that has been talked about with this guy, and some of it's true. I mean, like improvement on absolutely. The middle of the field throwing stuck out largely because of, Oklahoma tape, and Nick Sirianni's offense didn't have a lot of across the middle stuff designed. And I think largely because the slot was ignored from creativity. And that does not happen in a Kellen Moore offense. So all of this stuff about accuracy, completions, people know are where they're supposed to be. They're understanding the offense. And I do, after now kind of like a couple of weeks of training camp, I am very much on the side of this was always in Jalen Hurts' ability. And the experience, yes, probably wasn't the greatest at throwing over the middle, but this offense makes you throw over the middle because largely, that's where targets are going to sit. That's where a lot of the big bodies are going to be. A.J. Brown in particular. I do not believe that Jalen Hurts stopped this offense from progressing. This is all on the head coach, which is why they made so many dramatic changes this offseason, including making sure your homegrown guys were signed, happy, and able to show up this offseason ready to play football. There was too much turmoil last year. In the Eagles' history in general, I think this is why I feel even better about like doubling down on all of this stuff. In the Eagles' history, this third year is a crucial year for Nick Sirianni, where I guess we're going into the fourth year, aren't we? Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But any time that there was a severe dip in team culture, just like we saw last year, and everyone questioned it, I don't believe that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman would allow that to continue if they thought everyone had the right tools in mind, including Nick Sirianni, including Jalen Hurts, and said, you know what, this just isn't going to work and we're going to move on. That's not what's happening here. This year is going to improve the relationship of those two again. And I don't know if it'll ever be buddy-buddy. I'm to the point now where, like, okay, guys, they obviously respect something about one another. And even if it's just their bank accounts, that's okay. I don't think that Nick Sirianni this year, and I really do believe this, is going to put himself in a position like he did last year with Brian Johnson and force himself into the picture, because that would have been happening by now. Maybe from like a larger standpoint where he's talking to Vic Fangio and be like, hey, can you not run that bullshit in the first quarter just so my defense can catch up? That makes sense to me. But there will no longer be headsets being called in to Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts saying you need to do this instead of that, or et cetera, et cetera. He can be the teacher, motivator guy that's on the side when it comes to it. And eventually, I think Jalen will hear those words again, but Kellen Moore is in charge of the offense. And I think that automatically makes Jalen Hurts happy for all the reasons I previously described. It's utilizing his entire skill set because Kellen Moore knows how to do that. He's done it with Dak Prescott, despite what we might think, and I still think about the Chargers and Justin Herbert. I don't even know if we can say he got the most out of him, but you can tell that system that he's developing is to keep the quarterback as clean as possible. Use his legs properly. Do it so no one knows it's coming. Like this year, I am not going to say that we won't be in a 3rd and 5 situation, an empty set, and there's Jalen Hurts in shotgun, and we know that QB draw is coming, and they'll run it anyway and get it. Outside of that, this is where I don't believe we've respected Jalen Hurts as a thrower, simply because the offense isn't in place for him to show us that. Like a lot of the time coming into 21 and 22, and especially 22 when A.J. Brown got here, you saw his ability because A.J. Brown is able to handle that. Devontae Smith's progressiveness throughout, from his rookie year until now, same thing. We saw it in Washington that same year, the away game where they completely destroyed him. Devontae Smith, last 2 seconds of the half, bang, over the head catch for a touchdown. Like, that type of stuff we all knew Jalen Hurts had, that moxie, that I'm not going to fucking lose today. And that is still in his blood, running and screaming throughout this, and he just needs a little offensive structure, which I don't believe he's had his entire NFL career. It seemed like he told us he was more comfortable with a guy like Doug Peterson and running that type of offense because, one, that's more or less what he was used to, and college used his athleticism versus schematics, right? And you have to do that, at least when he was playing college. I can't believe we get to say that now. The NCAA is completely upside down. But for where Jalen was in his career, they leaned on his athleticism and they didn't necessarily develop. And I do believe 100% that this offense dramatically changed, just like Jalen Hurts told us, and the Eagles and Nick Sirianni said, hey, it didn't change that much. Yes, it did if they're running pistol boots. Yes, it did. If Jalen Hurts is way more accurate at camp so far, that is the offensive system. You heard it in the first week of, maybe it was OTA, the defense is really all over him. Well, how is it now? Looked like Kenny Pickett looked really good in this first week. Is it because he ran a similar offense to what? I don't even want to suggest that Matt Canada was running any type of offense, but it's what he was used to. Progression reads. It's not like Nick Sirianni wasn't throwing it in. It's just not as structured as it is here. 1, 2, 3, ball's got to be in her hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're looking for AJ on a slant or whatever it is, and you wouldn't take a 5-step drop on a slant. I know. I'm just kind of talking out loud here. It makes me super, super excited to see whatever's behind door number 2, and then Jalen Hurts has a list of assholes that he's just put on his bulletin board this entire offseason, and any time that man gets doubted, he plays better. Now, granted, that's a little anecdotal, but all of the draft Twitter nerds that kind of put out those power rankings that have Anthony Richardson above Jalen Hurts after not accomplishing anything, and I know a lot of you feel that way about Justin Herbert in terms of talent and where does all that fit? And I really don't care about QB rankings anymore. I'm just telling you that I have never seen Jalen Hurts continue to falter in his career when bad stuff comes around. It's the weird thing that the Eagles media has been doing in terms of when you're in a Super Bowl run and it's 2022, we love the stoic part of Jalen Hurts where he never gets up and he never gets down. But when you're losing and when shit's going bad, they expect you to react differently than when you react the same. They take it as arrogance, or maybe his teammates do, or whatever it is. And to me, that is all feelings that the other people have to figure out. If you are, especially coming from someone who's very excitable, if you're too high or too low, it's detrimental. And staying in the middle is the hardest thing that you could probably do in life, but especially as an athlete, because that perfectionism is going to creep in there. That imposter syndrome is going to creep in there. You're going to do a lot of stupid things. And I respect the way that Jalen Hurts continues to not be emotional on the field. Leaders shouldn't be. They should be making decisions. That's a powerful thing. And I know that it gets harped on all the time, and it's come up this offseason of Jalen Hurts' leadership, and is he the right guy for that fit? Yes, he fucking is. You can just hear it by the fact of, I don't know if you saw that 5-minute mic'd up that the Philadelphia Eagles came out with, but it's him and Saquon Barkley just talking. Are you fearless? Saquon is asking Jalen Hurts, hey man, would you consider yourself fearless? And without a shadow of a doubt, he says, absolutely. Absolutely, because what else is keeping me from being me, essentially? It's just me. And maybe that's whatever they say that is cookie fortune philosophy or whatever it is. But it's just true. It's just true with Jalen Hurts. Is Jalen going to be better? Yes. Is he going to be much better? Fuck yes. To the point where I'm going to be as bold as I do believe, and I said this in a Discord. Join us there if you're bored, because we have a lot of fun and a lot of stupid games that we play in there. And I fully believe that we should not be surprised to see Jalen Hurts' name in the top 3 quarterbacks in touchdown passes, and is probably number 1 overall in total touchdowns. I don't expect him to run less. I don't expect him to, completely change who he is as a quarterback. I just feel like this offense is going to allow him to throw more touchdowns, period. The opportunities to throw more touchdowns are in this offense. And if you kind of put together the last few years of Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and the success that's there, we have seen Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith all succeed without motion, without active confusion for the defense. None of that has happened in 4 seasons, and we are about to see it. That's part of why I think a lot of the beat reporters down there are so wow, what is this? It's an actual NFL fucking offense, and it should tell you how good the offense is already, that they have not done any of those real concepts, and they are beating the brakes off of guys one-on-one. So that is the biggest reason why everyone had to move on from everything last year. I am super jacked about not only Kellen Moore and what he can bring, but I'm excited for Jalen Hurts to be a part of the MVP conversation from here until the rest of his career is done. I do believe, and have always believed, that that man can be a top 5 quarterback if there is something consistent, including himself and an offensive coordinator that just clicks with him. And even if this means that Kellen Moore ends up getting another job somewhere, I would say that if it is successful as we think it's going to be, you've really got to consider that he just takes over as head coach. Consider it. And I'm not saying it's a done deal. If this all lives in harmony, fantastic. But, to me, Kellen Moore is going to be harder to replace if it's successful than if it's not. And that's a really dumb statement, John. Of course, if he does a bad job, he's going to get fired. I just mean from a head coaching standpoint, it's going to be really hard to kind of do this again. If Jalen Hurts likes this style of offense, I don't think you're going to see another offensive coordinator style I feel as though the Eagles are always going to try and catch this. Does that make sense? And I'm just saying that because I know you've been thinking that a lot, but this is the first time that it's really clicked for me on yes, I do believe if the team is just okay and the offense is amazing, there would be a gigantic opportunity for Kellen Moore to just stay the head coach. I don't think it's the most possible thing as we're starting the year. And I would say that Kellen Moore's chances of being a head coach elsewhere is probably better. But in the back of my mind, man, we're going to get back to what exactly do you do here, Nick Territory, if it's just okay. If they end up going to the Super Bowl like I think they're going to, it's not going to matter. Is Jalen Hurts going to be as good as I'm presenting? Because you're going to have a tough time moving me off this rock, and I know it's a really easy thing to say that the quarterback's going to have the year of his life and at age 26. It's just I'm surprised that not all of us are on board and trying to contain our excitement as this season kind of starts to get started. I really look forward to more, and I know you have a ton of questions that need answering, which we're going to get to this week. So what do you think? Am I too far-reaching here with Jalen? Do you believe that Kellen Moore has an opportunity to possibly be the head coach here if the offense is great and everything else is a little funky? Join us in the Discord. Find us at John Barchard, at Bell and the Bird on Twitter and Instagram. And we are just getting started. This is not going to be the only episode this week. I've been doing a lot of recording over July, and we are going to play Better, Worse, the Same. There's a bunch of people that are in here that we need to get to. And, of course, we've got the Ravens on the 9th this week. So I'm excited for that. I will see you on Thursday for a quick little preview on what to expect versus the Ravens. That's it for Bell and the Birdman. I'm John Barchard. I'll see you on Thursday. Okay, bye.